Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. I might be destroying my truck today. Made a video yesterday sharing all of the things I intend on installing on my 2024 GMC Sierra, including this switch panel to control all of the electronics. That's going to be what we're doing today, is possibly destroying my truck. I posed the question yesterday, which location I should install this switch panel. The options were A, B, or the worst, or maybe best, C. Now the problem with C is that this is the headliner. And if I mess up my cuts, well, I destroy a headliner. I think this is the best location, however, it is by far the most risky. If I screw this up, replacing a headliner, you can't just slide a new headliner into a truck like this without some major work. So I am going to proceed with what the internet tells me to do, because the internet knows everything. And I'm sure that people don't want to just watch me destroy my truck, right? So I started looking at this earlier, and originally my plan was to cut this out. You can see there's a little bit of a ridge here, and countersink this into the headliner. The problem is that's about, I don't know, 1 millimeter or 2 of a lip, and getting this trimmed out so that perfectly fits is pretty much impossible. So the next thought was just drill a hole for the wire harness to go through and surface mount it, which is pretty much what I'm going to do. But what I did not love about this is that if you look on the side, it looks like it's not meant to kind of be there. You can see that ledge, and it looks scabbed on. So I took to Printables and a couple other websites to look for something to 3D print on my printer. And oddly enough, I found SDHQ, which is right down the road. It's about 10 miles from my house. They 3D print them. This is something I could have done myself. This is just a little bezel here. But the hour or two I would have spent designing it, printing it, and going through all that, they charged, well, pre-tax $34.95. So a couple hours of my time, absolutely worth $34. And they also give you a little template that comes with it, which will work out perfect to mark where I need to cut holes. So that's all I need to do, is drill a hole here and 4 holes to mount it. And then I'll get up behind here. Let's see if I can pull this down one-handed. I'll use my handy, way too expensive hood light here. Get me some light for the video. I'm gonna try to pop this out. Usually these just are clipped in. Ow! Something interesting going on with this. And there's some screws there. There are some screws here. There's 1, 2, and then the same thing buried deep back up in here. So I'll have to pull those out. There's the clips. There we go. Nothing but access back here. We are golden. All right, so now what I'm going to do here is take the Switch Pros bracket that they gave me. Just want to make sure your template is lined up right, so you're not drilling holes in the wrong spots. So I labeled my bracket top, and I need to mount this sort of centered here. What I'm going to do is grab some chalk, actually. Now, when you're doing anything inside of a truck or a car, you can't use a level because the vehicle could be sitting off kilter. So just want to center it up, kind of eyeball it. And I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is just take some chalk, mark out my holes, and then the big hole here. Oh, this gives me like nails on a chalkboard chills. And there's our holes. And now we pray. And the goal is, there's a little bracket here that I'll show you guys when I go to install it. That's just going to mount to the back side here, pull it all tight. And with my little SDHQ brackets, I should have very tight fit. Too tight of a fit, actually. Come on, SDHQ. Man, getting this thing in the bracket is a pain in the ass. Man, that bracket from SDHQ is really, really tight. Almost too tight, but That'll make it a real nice mount and it appear pretty darn good. I'm delaying. Let's cut these holes. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these out actually, just to make sure I don't get a drill bit to catch the headliner and yank a bunch of thread. And take an X-Acto knife here and just cut around this fabric. More X-Acto knife. And I hate bringing X-Acto knives or any sharp blades into my truck because it's a drop of a blade away from ripping a seat, which is probably a bigger fear of mine than cutting into the headliner itself. All right, so fabric is cut out there. Much less worried about these ones here. No, we'll just take those ones slow. Also going to use a much less powered screw gun as my drill. I want to be very slow with this. Here we go. Oh, easy. Just don't want it to snag. Then we'll go 1/2 inch here. There we go. We've got some studs here that screw in to the back of the panel. Thread those studs in. And then these brackets catch it on the back side. Just some little 8mm nuts. The studs are properly long. That's good for many different mounting options. Man, that's amazing. I was so sketched out about doing this, and also very happy that I went and bought that bracket from SDHQ, even though it's tighter than it should be. It's something they could improve on. The nice thing is then I just need to run this wire harness down. I don't have to even finish this today, which I don't plan on doing. 75 more turns. There we go, we are tight. That thing is solid as can be. Now that could be the only real thing I would say critique-wise is that there's kind of some give here in the headliner, but I think it's fine. I like it. If I was real crazy, I might go as far as to like epoxy some metal supports there, but I don't care that much. Some people may, I don't. So now we did not demolish the headliner. That is awesome. About 3 inches to the edge there, 3 inches to the edge there, just about 1 inch to the bottom. Just, yeah, it's like perfectly square in there. And now we just got to run this harness. Now the thing that I actually really like about this Switch Pros light is that you're not running all of your accessories like to the back of this. So once you run this harness out of the way, I can button this up, clean it up. I'm not going to put any stickers on here yet because I don't know exactly what is going to be wired to where. But once I get this out of my way, I am done up here and I can take my wiring underneath the hood or inside the cab of the truck, wherever that is. Just got to get this out of the way, button it all up. And then as far as that's concerned, that switch is done. So this is the communication cable. Now what I have not looked at yet is where I'm coming through the firewall. I'm gonna bank on being able to get through. If my memory serves correct, I can actually come down through the fender. We're gonna find a way to come down and have the wiring come through on this side of the truck. Not entirely sure how yet. We'll actually run this up through here. Say it's relatively easy. Now the one thing I do like to do is to make sure that I'm not wrapping up any airbags, because I don't want any airbags to get tangled up in any wiring. Anytime you're doing stuff like this, you just want to be careful around leathers and glass. Ask me how many times I've bashed my ratchet off a windshield.
A few minutes later.
Oh no. And thank the Lord above that it didn't break. So we'll drop that. I want to clean these wires up a little bit too with my new Cletus McFarlane grip lock ties that are. All right, so this plug in there, pull that through. These grip lock ties are awesome. They've got a little rubber coating on the inside, so they won't dig into wires. Just fantastic. This headliner is installed really, really tight. There we go. All right, we're tucked away. And now what I want to do is get these wires that are kind of dangly around airbags tucked back up a little bit better around the OEM harness that's here. And the goal here is just to make sure that when an airbag blows, if it were to, in that situation, that you're not getting a bunch of wires and other electronics coming down with it, hitting you in the face. There's that, so that's out of the way of the airbags. And then we'll drop these down over here, down here. Oh, battery's dying. This flashlight was way too expensive, but man, am I glad I bought it. All right, so now we'll start tucking it away. Let's get, for now, still need to figure out where I'm gonna run this stuff through. Probably sit out here in the garage with some beers tonight, looking at this, trying to figure out the next game plan. Just how I like to do these projects is little bits at a time. Get that out of the way. Oh no, put my finger there to protect it, which I usually do until I forget and then I smash it off the windshield. All right, so now we'll get this button back up. Whoa. Almost crushed my truck in the garage. A little sneak peek. Man, that's great. That's all tight. Good to go. Better than the Ford because the Ford was flat. This actually faces me, which I love. The way that that's angled. They said it couldn't be done. Actually, maybe they said it shouldn't be done. Either way, it's done. The switches are installed, and that is kind of step one of getting this whole thing situated. Now, I'm just going to show you guys right here from the driver's seat. The reason why I love location C is that location A was a little bit visible. You can see the wheels actually locked here if the wheel's straight. I want to be able to see them back here, and this was also concaved, which you can kind of see maybe with the shadows here a little bit. This is concave, so it would have been really hard to get it to fit there in the first place. So location B was right below it. This is actually a really nice flat piece of plastic here, but I hated this even more because from where I'm sitting here at the driver's seat, I could not see those buttons at all unless the wheel was turned. So up here in location C, once these are all labeled, which I'll spend some time thinking about how I want these to be labeled, but once these are all labeled, this is perfect from the driver's seat here. So this is as wide of a view as I can get, but right here, just kind of look up to the right, and there's all my switches. I also love how it is angled towards the driver, which is how the switches should be. I've got garage door opener, all that stuff here, OnStar, which that's why you don't need a GPS tracker in your car. You already freaking have it. I digress, but the Switch Pros panel, love it. So the next step for me is to come out here in the garage after my daughter goes to bed and stare at this wire and figure out how do I want to run this into the engine bay, and then also how do I want to run the wires for the wire harness, which now I don't need to worry about any of the power up there. All of the power for any of these accessories is going to run to another location. And what I needed to do was get this all installed, get the wire run down so I can see where that's going to go, and just kind of take a minute to sit back and think, how do I want to do this? Next phase, I want to approach this with some thought. Here is the wire harness. So the next step is to figure out, like, where do I want to mount this box here? Now in the Ford, the only spot that I had to mount it was horizontal like this, but you're actually not supposed to. You're supposed to mount it vertical so that any rain or anything drains off of it. So I will probably just mount it up over here somewhere. That's not going to work. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just kind of stare at this thing under the hood and figure out where do I want to put it. So with this project, I wanted to tackle the hardest part first, which was getting that switch panel installed up on the headliner. That's done. Tomorrow I'm going to head out, I think, to meet up with Adam Sandoval, who's currently doing his cross-country ride to just a whole bunch, if not all, the Harley dealerships in the country to raise money for the Wounded Warrior project. He should be in Phoenix, so I'm going to go do that. And then I think this weekend I'll tackle this wiring project after I take some time to just stare at the wires and figure out where and how I want to run those. So with that said, thank you guys very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I'll see you guys next time. So a little side note, as I'm wrapping this video, I was thinking, like, is this a better way of presenting information to like the YouTube world, where I just did a part of a project. I'm going to edit it together, share with you guys where I got today. I'm going to take time to clean up my mess, tackle the project more in another day. And instead of putting these together in like one 30, 40 minute long video of me doing one project over the course of like an entire week, I feel like maybe just breaking these out into like these daily type videos gives like a more realistic view of like what people get done in a day. And I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm just like, as I'm going through this on video number 46 now, realizing like, maybe it's kind of a different, interesting way to go about YouTube in general. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think?